Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be walking through LeetCode 2481 minimum cuts to divide a circle. I'm going to be going through the question, I'm going to be breaking it down, and then we're going to look at how we come to the solution, and then of course writing the code. So I'm going to break down every single step to make it as easy as possible. Before we get into that, if you were serious about wanting to, improve your algorithm and data structure skills, and you want to whether just get better at the skills themselves, or maybe you're preparing for an interview or something, then click the link in the description for the best course on preparing for this kind of stuff and just getting better if you're really serious about it. So to get started with this question, let's just read through it. So a valid cut in a circle can be either a cut that is represented by a straight line that touches 2 points on the edge of the circle and passes through its center. So let's just think about what this means. So 2 points on the edge. So 2 points on the edge here and passes through its center. So passes through its center. So it's basically just saying cutting it in half in some sort of way. So the next one, a cut that is represented by a straight line that touches 1 point on the edge of the circle and its center. So 1 point on the edge and its center. So this is just kind of half a cut. So we also can now look at all these three examples. So some valid and invalid cuts. So that's the first one, that's the second one, and this is an invalid cut because it doesn't go through its center. So given the integer n, return the minimum number of cuts. So we need to have the minimum number of cuts needed to divide a circle into n equal slices. So that's also very important, equal slices. So we can't just be cutting, randomly to get the n number of slices. They all need to be equal. So if we look at this example here, we need to have 4 slices. And so they've just cut it in half twice. So it's done 2 of these cuts, and that's why the output is 2. For here, we need to have n equals 3, so we need 3 slices, and they've done 3 of these little half slices. Cool. So let's get into the code. Well, let's break this down and think about how we're going to approach this before we actually write the code. So let's go over to the whiteboard. And I think the easiest way to think about this question is to actually just go through case by case. So let's go through, if we look at the constraints here, we have a minimum number of slices of 1. So as you can consider that one, so if n, we have a little table here, n is 1, then let's have a circle. We don't need to cut it, it's already 1. So from that we can go, that's 0 slices. So that's the S. And then, so if n equals 2, let's consider that. So we have a circle. If n equals 2, we just need to cut it in half. And then now we have 2. So, okay, cool. So 2 is 1. Okay, so next one, 3. And we're just going to go up to, I think 6, we should be able to kind of see the pattern that we need to see. So for 3, which we already had here, remember that you have to do this. So we will do 1, 2, 3 to get our 3 slices. So 3 is 3. Okay, 4, let's consider that one. And again, that was given to us. 4, cut it in half twice. So that is 2. And so we can kind of already start to see a little bit of a pattern here. Let's ignore this one for the minute because this is probably going to be our base case. But if we can kind of start to see that the even and odd numbers are working differently. But let's just go through a few more and then see if the pattern becomes a bit more apparent. So 5, in this case, we're going to need, let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so pretend that's equal. We have our 5 slices here, and we had to do all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half slices. Okay, so let's do one more. So we'll do 6. And that's just going to be 3 of these full slices. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from 3 slices. So let's take a look at this. Again, we're going to ignore this for the minute because we'll have this as our base case. So we're going to ignore the one with 1. But if we look at these below, you can kind of see that, as I was saying before, and hinting at, that the even and odd numbers are working a little bit differently. So let's look at them separately. So even numbers, 2 is 1, 4 is 2, 6 is 3. So if you kind of look at these numbers, you'll notice 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2, 6 divided by 2 is 3. So we can kind of see the pattern for these even numbers here. And now let's see if there's a pattern for these odd numbers. And if we wanted to, we could, it's like say we were in an interview and we wanted to just, double check, make sure we're really on the ball. Then we could do another one just to make sure we have 3 cases for odd numbers, but we've only got 2 here. But the pattern is pretty apparent here. 3 is 3, 5 is 5. So this is just equal to the number of slices. So we have our pattern, we've worked it out, we have our base case, and then we have, if it's even, then it's going to be n divided by 2. And if it is odd, then it is going to be n. So cool, we have worked it out. That's the pattern, that's what we need to do. And we have our base case, we've kind of worked it through. Now it's time to actually write the code and get this, all this kind of stuff translated into some code. So to start off with, we'll start with the base case that we picked up. So if we work with the base case, we're just looking for if n is equal to 1, return 0. Cool. So we've got our base case there. Now let's look at another case. Well, let's look at our pattern that we have. So let's maybe work with even numbers first. So we'll check if it's even. Check if even. If n modulo 2 equals 0. So there's just checking whether it's even. So n divided by 2 with nothing remainder. Then in that case, we are going to return n divided by 2. We're going to do integer division here because we want an integer output. So that takes care of our even cases. Now the final thing we need to check is for odd ones. And because we've already worked with our base case, we've already worked with our evens, we can just have our final return statement as return n, which is the pattern for our odd numbers. So that's really all it is. That's the only code you need to write. It's very simple. Let's just run that to make sure we're working fine. And as you can see, accepted, and I'll submit it. And it has been successful. So yeah, a pretty simple one once you kind of work through it and you look for the pattern, and I'd highly encourage taking that approach for questions like this because it became pretty obvious once we saw a few examples there. But I hope that video was helpful. I hope that all makes sense. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.